if you're watching this right now, it's no accident. You might have felt drawn to click on this video without fully understanding why. Perhaps you're going through something difficult. Maybe you're at a crossroads. Or possibly, you're searching for answers to questions you can't quite put into words. Carl Jung, one of the most profound psychologists in history, believed in something called synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that seem to occur at exactly the right moment. And right now, in this moment, you and this video have found each other. I want you to take a deep breath. Get comfortable, because over the next 80 minutes, we're going to explore some of the most profound insights that Carl Jung ever shared. Insights that might just change the way you see yourself, your struggles, and your life. This isn't just another psychology video. This is a journey into the depths of the human soul. And if you found this video right now, it means you're ready. Act 1, the moment you're in. Chapter 1. Why you're really here. Let me guess something about you. And I want you to be honest with yourself as I say this. You're going through something, aren't you? Maybe it's not a crisis. Not yet, anyway. But there's a feeling. A weight. Perhaps it's the sense that your life isn't quite fitting anymore. Like you're wearing clothes that are too small. Or maybe it's heavier than that. Perhaps you're facing loss, disappointment, or a version of yourself you don't recognize in the mirror. Jung would tell you that this discomfort, it's not your enemy. It's actually your psyche trying to wake you up. You see, Jung discovered something remarkable through decades of working with patients. The human soul has an intelligence of its own. It knows when we're living out of alignment with our true nature. It knows when we're betraying ourselves. And when that happens, it sends us signals. Those signals might be persistent anxiety that seems to have no clear cause, a feeling of emptiness even when your life looks successful on paper, recurring dreams that disturb you, or this gnawing sense that you're meant for something more, something different. Jung called this the call to individuation. The soul's demand that you become who you truly are, not who you think you should be. And that's why you're here. That's why this video found you. Chapter 2. The wound that brings you home. Let me tell you about Jung's own dark night of the soul. At age 38, Carl Jung was at the peak of his career. He was Sigmund Freud's chosen successor, celebrated, respected, but something inside him was dying. He was living according to someone else's theories, someone else's vision of psychology. When he broke with Freud in 1913, Jung didn't just lose a mentor, he lost his entire professional identity. He fell into what he later called his confrontation with the unconscious. For 6 years, he experienced visions, heard voices, and felt like he was going mad. But here's the crucial part. Jung didn't run from this darkness. He descended into it. He drew pictures of what he saw in his visions. He wrote dialogues with the figures that appeared in his mind. He treated his own psychological breakdown as a journey, not a disaster. And from that descent, he emerged with the insights that would revolutionize psychology, the collective unconscious, archetypes, the shadow, individuation, and synchronicity. Your pain, it's not random. Your crisis, it's not a mistake. Jung would say that your soul has broken your old life apart because that life was too small for who you're becoming. The wound is how the light gets in. The breakdown is actually a breakthrough trying to happen. Act 2. The shadow. Meeting your hidden self. Chapter 3. What you refuse to see about yourself. Now we're going to go somewhere uncomfortable. Because Jung's most important teaching can't comfort you. It can only liberate you. And that teaching is this. You don't know yourself nearly as well as you think you do. Jung discovered that we all have what he called a shadow, the part of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge. It's made up of everything we've rejected, denied, or hidden away because it didn't fit with our self-image. Maybe you see yourself as a nice person, so you've pushed all your anger, jealousy, and selfishness into the shadow. Maybe you see yourself as strong, so you've hidden away your vulnerability, your need for help, your tears. Maybe you see yourself as rational, so you've rejected your emotions, your intuition, your spiritual longings. But here's what Jung discovered. Whatever you don't own in yourself will own you. That rage you won't acknowledge, It leaks out in passive aggression. That neediness you deny, it drives your relationships underground. That ambition you're ashamed of, it sabotages your success. And more than that, the shadow doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone around you. Chapter 4. Shadow Projection. How you create your own enemies. Have you ever noticed how the traits that irritate you most in other people are often the exact things you refuse to see in yourself? The person who drives you crazy because they're so fake. Could it be that you're not being authentic? The colleague who enrages you because they're so selfish. Might you be denying your own needs? The friend who frustrates you because they're so sensitive. Are you afraid of your own emotions? Jung called this projection. We take the parts of ourselves we won't own, and we see them in other people instead. And then we attack those people for carrying what's actually ours. Think about this. The world you see around you is partly a mirror of what's inside you. The more you deny your shadow, the more you see it everywhere else. Right now, I want you to think about someone in your life who really bothers you. Got someone in mind? Now ask yourself, what quality in them triggers you most? Got it? Now here's the difficult question Jung would ask. Where might that quality exist in you? Not exactly the same way, perhaps. But where might the seed of it live? This isn't about blame. This is about reclaiming your power. Because once you stop projecting your shadow onto others, you can finally integrate it. You can become whole. Chapter 5. Integrating the Shadow. The Dark Work of Becoming Whole. Jung said something radical. I'd rather be whole than good. Think about what that means. We spend our whole lives trying to be good, meeting expectations, living up to images, maintaining our persona. But good is not the same as whole. Wholeness means accepting all of you. Your darkness and your light, your generosity and your selfishness, your courage and your fear, your love and your hate. So how do you integrate your shadow? Jung offered several practices. First, pay attention to your strong reactions. When someone triggers intense emotion in you, rage, disgust, contempt, that's often shadow material. Ask yourself, what part of me am I seeing in them? Second, work with your dreams. Jung believed dreams are messages from the unconscious. The disturbing figures in your dreams, often they represent shadow aspects trying to get your attention. Third, create something. Paint, write, dance, sculpt. Give your shadow a voice through creative expression. Don't censor it. Let it show you what's there. Fourth, practice radical honesty. Start admitting the things you've been denying. Yes, I can be jealous. Yes. I sometimes enjoy others' failures. Yes. I have needs I've been pretending don't exist. This is difficult work. Your ego will resist it. Society will tell you to keep pretending. But Jung promises you this. On the other side of shadow work is freedom, is authenticity, is power you didn't know you had. Because when you're no longer hiding from yourself, you stop hiding from life. Act 3. The Call to Individuation. Chapter 6. What is individuation? Now we arrive at the heart of Jung's teaching. Individuation. Individuation is the process of becoming who you truly are, not who your parents wanted you to be, not who society says you should be, not who your trauma made you think you had to be. It's the journey from living as a collection of roles and reactions to living as a complete, authentic human being. Jung believed this was the primary task of the second half of life. He noticed that many of his patients who came to him in their 40s, 50s, and 60s weren't suffering from traditional neuroses. They were suffering from a lack of meaning. Their lives had become empty because they'd never truly lived as themselves. Think about it this way. The first half of life is about building a career, building relationships, building security, building an identity. And that's necessary. We need these structures. But then something happens. You reach the goals you set, and they feel hollow. Or you don't reach them, and you realize you never really wanted them anyway. That job you worked so hard for? It's not fulfilling. That relationship you fought to maintain? It's not truly intimate. That person you became? It's not really you. This is what Jung called the crisis of meaning. And it's not a problem. It's an invitation to finally discover who you actually are. Chapter 7, The Stages of Individuation. Individuation doesn't happen all at once. It's a process, a journey with distinct stages. Let me walk you through them. Stage 1, the persona shatters. This is where many of you are right now. The identity you've been living, the persona you show the world, starts to crack. Maybe through crisis, losing a job, a divorce, an illness, or maybe through a slow, creeping realization, this isn't me. This has never been me. This stage is terrifying because you're losing yourself before you know who you're becoming. You're in the void. Hold on. This is necessary. Stage 2, meeting the shadow. We've already talked about this. You start seeing the parts of yourself you've denied. This stage is humbling. You realize you're not who you thought you were. You're more complex, more contradictory, more human. This is progress. Stage 3, encountering the animus. Jung believed we all have an inner contrasexual side. Men have an inner feminine anima. Women have an inner masculine animus. These are the parts of ourselves we've rejected because they don't fit gender expectations. For men, you might need to reclaim your sensitivity, your receptivity, your emotional depth. For women, you might need to reclaim your assertiveness, your ambition, your intellectual power. Wholeness requires integrating both energies. Stage 4, finding the self. This is the destination. Though it's never fully reached, it's more of an endless approaching. The self, in Jung's terms, is your true nature, your essence, the organizing center of your personality. When you begin living from the self rather than the ego, life changes. You stop seeking validation from others. You stop betraying yourself to fit in. You discover an inner compass you can trust. You feel connected to something larger than yourself. This is what Jung called self-realization. Not perfection, but completion. Not flawless, but whole. Chapter 8, The Symbols That Guide You. Here's something beautiful Jung discovered. Your psyche is always trying to guide you toward individuation. It sends you symbols, in dreams, in synchronicities, in the art and stories that move you. Maybe you keep dreaming about water. Jung would say your unconscious is showing you emotions you need to feel. Maybe you keep seeing the same number everywhere. That's synchronicity, a sign that you're on the right path. Maybe you're inexplicably drawn to a particular myth or fairy tale. There's a pattern there that your soul recognizes. The psyche is not of today. Its ancestry goes back many millions of years. Individual consciousness is only the flower and the fruit of a season, sprung from the perennial rhizome beneath the earth. What he meant is, you have access to deep wisdom that's older than your conscious mind. Archetypes, patterns, universal human experiences, encoded in symbol and story. So pay attention. What images keep appearing in your life? What stories move you to tears? What symbols draw your attention? These aren't random. They're your psyche's way of speaking to you, guiding you toward who you need to become. Act 4, Synchronicity, the universe responding. Chapter 9, There are no coincidences. Now let's talk about why you're watching this video right now. Jung coined the term synchronicity to describe meaningful coincidences, events that are connected not by cause and effect, but by meaning. Moments when the outer world mirrors your inner state in ways that seem impossible to explain. Let me tell you Jung's most famous synchronicity story. He was treating a woman who was highly intellectual and rational, too rational. Her therapy was stuck because she couldn't access her emotions or intuition. One day, she told Jung about a dream she'd had the night before. In it, she was given a golden scarab, an Egyptian symbol of rebirth. As she was telling him this dream, Jung heard a tapping at the window. He opened it, and in flew a scarabaeid beetle, the European insect most similar to a scarab. Jung caught it and handed it to his patient, saying, "Here is your scarab." The woman was stunned. Something in her rational worldview cracked open, and from that moment, her therapy progressed. The synchronicity had broken through her defenses in a way Jung's words never could. Now, have you experienced synchronicity? Thinking of someone right before they call? Opening a book to exactly the passage you needed? Meeting someone who changes your life at exactly the moment you needed to meet them? Or maybe Clicking on this video right now? Jung believed these weren't coincidences. They were evidence of a deeper connection between psyche and matter, between your inner world and the outer world. He believed that when you're in alignment with your individuation process, synchronicities increase. The universe begins to respond to you. Chapter 10, Living in Synchronicity. But here's what most people don't understand about synchronicity. You can't force it, but you can create conditions for it. Synchronicity happens when 1. You're paying attention. Most people sleepwalk through life. They miss the signs because they're not looking. Jung would say, develop your awareness. Notice the patterns. Keep a journal. Track the symbols and coincidences in your life. 2. You're emotionally alive. Synchronicity is the language of the soul, and the soul speaks through emotion. When you're numb, disconnected, living only in your head, synchronicities don't register. Feel your life. Let yourself be moved. 3. You're in the process of becoming. When you're actively engaged in your individuation, doing your shadow work, following your dreams, listening to your intuition, synchronicities multiply. It's as if the universe rewards your courage. 4. You trust the process. This is the hardest part. Synchronicity requires you to live with a degree of faith. Not blind faith, but trust based on experience. The more you notice synchronicities, the more you trust them. And the more you trust them, the more they appear. Jung said something that still gives me chills. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Every person you meet, every video you watch, every experience you have, if you're paying attention, if you're open, has the potential to transform you. And maybe that's what's happening right now. Act 5, The Return, Integrating the Wisdom. Chapter 11, What do you do now? We've covered a lot of ground together. We've talked about the shadow work that makes you whole, the individuation process that makes you free, the synchronicities that guide your way. But here's the question that matters. What do you do now? Tomorrow morning when you wake up, how does your life change? Let me give you Jung's practical wisdom for living this path. First, make time for solitude. Jung believed that the unconscious needs space to speak. In our hyper-connected world, we're never alone with ourselves. Create time, daily if possible, where you're not consuming content, not talking to anyone, not distracting yourself. Just sit. Let your thoughts come. Write them down. This is how you hear your soul. Second, honor your dreams. Keep a dream journal by your bed. When you wake, write down whatever you remember, even fragments. Don't analyze them immediately. Just record them. Over time, you'll start to see patterns. Your unconscious is sending you messages. Receive them. Third, do the opposite of what you usually do. This is shadow integration in practice. If you're always nice, practice saying no. If you're always strong, practice asking for help. If you're always rational, practice following an intuition. Growth lives outside your comfort zone. Fourth, follow what calls to you, not what seems practical, not what others expect, but what genuinely calls to your soul. That class you've been thinking about, that trip you keep postponing, that creative project that scares you. Jung would say, these callings are your individuation trying to happen. Fifth, find your people. Individuation doesn't happen alone. You need witnesses. Find people who are also doing the work, who are willing to be real, to go deep, to see you and be seen. These are your soul friends. They're rare, but they're out there. Chapter 12, The Gift of Your Crisis. I want to come back to where we started, to why you're watching this right now. Whatever brought you here, the pain, the confusion, the searching. I want you to consider something radical. What if this moment isn't your breakdown, but your breakthrough? What if your soul orchestrated this entire crisis specifically to wake you up? To break apart the false life you were living so you could finally build a true one? Jung worked with hundreds of patients in deep crisis, and he noticed something consistent. The people who descended into their darkness with courage and awareness emerged, more whole than they'd ever been before. They didn't just recover. They transformed. They became who they were always meant to be. Your pain has a purpose. Your confusion has a direction. Your crisis has a gift hidden inside it, but only if you're willing to do the work. Only if you're willing to face your shadow, question your persona, follow your individuation, trust the synchronicities, become who you actually are. This is the hero's journey Jung identified in every human life. You're not broken. You're on a quest, and every quest requires a descent before the return. Before we part, I want to leave you with one of Jung's most beautiful quotes. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not who you were told to be, not who you pretended to be, but who you truly are. That's the work. That's the journey. That's what this moment in your life is asking of you. And here's what I know for certain. If you've made it to this point in this video, if you've stayed for exploring these ideas, you're ready. You might not feel ready. You might feel scared, uncertain, overwhelmed, but your soul is ready. That's why you're here. So here's what I invite you to do. Take one action today, just one. Journal about your shadow. Pay attention to a dream. Have an honest conversation. Do something your soul has been calling you to do. Don't wait for the right time. The right time is now. The right time is always now. And if this video resonated with you, if you felt like it found you at exactly the right moment, share it. Because somewhere, someone else is in their own crisis, doing their own searching. And maybe, through synchronicity, this video needs to find them too. Thank you for trusting me with your time. Thank you for doing this deep work. Thank you for having the courage to become who you truly are. The journey isn't easy, but it's worth it. I promise you it's worth it. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Trust the process. And remember, there are no coincidences. You found this video exactly when you needed it.